Hey everybody, it's Paul with reporting live from my sofa. How are you doing today? I'm doing pretty good. We have gathered around the sofa and the camera and the microphone to talk about the defense's first day of calling witnesses. Day number 10. This was a very interesting, very eye-opening day. So, without further ado, let's review. Like I said, we're going to be going over all of the defense's witnesses, the majority of them. So there were some themes that we saw today. Now, I don't know about y'all, but for me, like overall, let's talk for a second. I was very curious to see what who the defense had up their sleeve. Because for me, I was just like, you know what? For the level of outrage that she has, as if everyone's been lying on the stand so far and this, that, and the other. I was like, okay, let's see. If she has people come up there that are literally just like, bam, okay, here we go. This is why she was outraged. Everything's been a conspiracy against these two. It's, they haven't done a thing. Okay, let's wait. When that first witness got up there, though, and I was like, okay, like that's what, okay, let's keep going and say it didn't get any better. So I was just like, really? Now, again, maybe she's holding her ammo for the very end, because I do feel like the prosecution's case, like we saw, the very last testimony was just like done. That was the best. But they also had a lot of really strong witnesses before that. So let's start talking about the first witness. Now, this was essentially a friend. It was also served in the service of some sort with Jennifer. Now, he gets up there and essentially is gushing over what a wonderful person she was. The girls were so taken care of, so on and so forth. And right away, something just seems a little bit fake about him. Now, I always give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Like, people are going to be nervous up there, this and the other. I get that. Now, here's a couple of things about his testimony that made me say, what? First of all, when he goes into the whole thing about Joseph using the butter knife to stir the coffee. And he was like, oh, it always sat on the counter all day long. And I was like, is he trying to tie in Joseph's DNA to that butter knife as to why it was on the butter knife? It was just so weird, and it seemed like such planted evidence to me, or testimony to say to me. I was like, okay, why are we going on that? So, the state gets up there, and this is what we see time and time again. And again, it's more of these tactics. I do not understand why Kareem Mull is bringing some of these people up there unless she personally hates her defendants, because it's like she's bringing these people up to open them up to cross-examination, and she's asking them like a few specific questions. Now, this guy she was up there a little bit longer with, but a lot of these people will see she's bringing them up there to literally ask them a couple of questions out of context, yes or no, and then opening it up to the state getting up there, who then just kind of makes it look idiotic that they were even brought up there, and makes her case look even worse. So like this guy, going on all the stuff. So the state gets up there, they establish he has never lived with the Rosenbaums when they had the girls. He never cared for the girls, so he never saw them undressed, never changed them, never did anything like that. Establishes that he provided, so he worked for Delta at one point and provided the tickets to South Dakota, but then they're just like, well, did you go to South Dakota with them? So all you do is provide these tickets, so you're not really an alibi for him. So the state basically establishes that the stuff that he's saying and the things that were presented to him, like family life and all that type of stuff, was done through what Jennifer said, not necessarily through what he saw, because a lot of these people are getting there and testifying, including him. And it's like, well, you didn't live there with them. You know what I mean? Sure, things might have looked fine in the snapshot or what they're saying on the phone or whatever. Now, this is one thing that really jumped out to me. So he's stumbling over his words. He will not admit he does not want to admit to this rescue breathing training in the military. He skirts around that. It becomes so obvious that he's doing this, that it's awkward and painful to watch. Now, the prosecutor, the state attorney up there that's talking to him, she's getting visibly, to me, she's coming at him the way Corrine came at most all of the clients right off the bat. Her level of frustration with him is growing, and to me, do I think it's warranted? This is my thing. When people start getting aggressive, whether it's the state or the defense of whatever, it fumbles people up, and I know it's a technique that they use. So with him, he began to provide a reason. I'm like, okay, this is getting, like, somebody say something. And finally, the judge yelled at him. I mean, when you get the judge to yell at you, it's not good. And that's the first witness. So for me, I'm just like, okay, well, I can see why she's getting all up in it with him. You know, and we've seen her before. She started off that way. You know, I mean, she gets a little emotional about stuff. So, but she just didn't really do it unwarrantedly, I guess you could say. And, you know, they butted heads the whole time, in my opinion. So, you know, he falls all over himself. Judge finally yells at him. He then apologizes and stuff. And, you know, he forgets what he's talking about at one point. He's evasive. He's a horrible witness. Horrible first witness. I mean, this did them no favors. So this is what we start off with. Second one is attended a party like Chick-fil-A or something. And essentially, this lady gets up there and she just kind of has this weird attitude. And it's the party at the Chick-fil-A thing. And she's like, you know, did you say Jennifer hit the child there? And she's like, no. And finally the defense says, you don't want to be here, do you? And she goes, no, ma'am. And she's like, you're here under subpoena, aren't you? And she goes, yes, ma'am. And so, you know, the defense is like, well, is it true that you sent Jennifer a Facebook message in support of her? And she says, you know, what happened right after this, and she makes her read the things. And, you know, it's like, you know, oh, I know that I saw how much you love the girls and stuff. Mind you, she was at a party with this girl, we'll find out in a few minutes, for 5 minutes, you know, like barely any time at all, like interacting with these people. So that happens. So then the state gets up there, and it's essentially like, you know, have you changed your mind about Jennifer? And she's like, yes. And she basically doesn't want to be there because she starts to say, like, well, all the evidence that has come out. And of course, objection, objection, objection. You know, so each time this witness is essentially starting to say, I don't want to be here testifying for this person. After what I've seen, I think she's guilty. You know, and I just don't want myself associated with this. And, of course, the defense doesn't want this said and objects to all of this, but the bell is rung. I mean, you again, that's your second witness. A horrible witness for the defense. Then the mother of Joseph gets up there. I felt so hard. Here's my thing when it comes to parents and stuff and these things. And it depends on the parent's attitude. I mean, okay, so yeah, overall, I felt like, first of all, the wool was pulled over this mother's eyes. Like, she didn't know. How many children are going to tell your own parent, I beat the kid that we have? I mean, really? It's just not going to be a thing. She was heartbroken. She was distraught. She clearly loved these girls and considered them her own. I got goosebumps right now. I felt awful for her. And to be up there and to have to then look at these pictures and hear all this stuff. And so, you know, the defense is always bringing up this. Well, I guess the defense associates materialistic items with non-abuse. And it just goes to show the lack of knowledge about abuse because, I mean, again, this is a telltale sign, you know, of covert abuse and things like this of, you know, and it's why it's so confusing of I abuse you, but then I go do this for you to make up. I mean, even as adults, we see this in things of, I didn't mean it. Let me get you that. I'll never do it again. You know, this trick. I mean, this is a thing. So why she keeps trying to associate that with, well, you gave her birthday parties and you did this. Didn't you see your son do this for them? Well, they must be innocent. Is beyond me. Please hold. Yummy. So the state gets up there. They acknowledge that it must be hard for her. They establish that she received some kind of like combat, breathing techniques while she too served in the service. She wasn't aware that Millie. So then they go into all the stuff that she was not aware of. Didn't know Millie was a victim. Hasn't seen the autopsy photos. Never knew Millie had a broken arm. Never knew about Millie's injuries. And then of course was like, well, this would surprise me. This concerns me. So on and so forth. To me, it doesn't think, and again, I can understand this. If she truly is getting up here and learning about all this stuff at this time, that's going to be a hard pill to swallow, and a realization of, oh, who would want to go through that in the stand? So, I mean, she doesn't think that her kid and Jennifer is, Joseph and Jennifer, capable of these things. Doesn't also really want to believe it. Who knows what the conversation was like that evening? Because they talked on the phone. And I mean, I just can't imagine what she went through. I just keep thinking about how it felt like for her to leave that day, to sit in the car, to digest that whole day. I just felt bad. So then, now we'll see some lots of other people, like a coworker of Joseph's comes up there. I mean, some of these people come up there for a few minutes that I guess are there to testify for, I don't even know why she brings some of these people up. But his coworker of Joseph's talks about, like, saying, well, are you in love with the girls yet? And he's like, well, the little one's really clingy. And I'm like, oh my God, it just makes them look even worse, because you're like, that little baby was probably so clingy when he got home, and regardless, and they're probably sitting there swatting at her and stuff because she gets on their nerves. I mean, that was the first image that came to my mind. I was just like, why is she bringing these people on the witness stand? So then, we see some DFACS workers, and like, this was interesting to me because this DFACS worker gets up there. She's like, she knew Millie and Miss Banks. She said there were complaints that Miss Banks instructed Millie or coached her to say things. She said that Miss Banks said she wanted Millie to be placed with church-like people, which essentially came down to white Christians, people like at her church or whatever. And this keeps coming up. She says that she felt like Miss Banks was teaching her to react negatively to people. Then the state gets up there and crosses her, goes over a timeline of events and statements that Millie said. And there's a bunch of, I don't remember, from the witness. Here's my thing with the stuff about Miss Banks and stuff in the defense. The defense is very much trying to place the abuse in Miss Banks' hands. They're also bringing up the race card thing with Miss Banks. Okay, now, so Miss Banks has denied that she has said these things. There seems to be some evidence towards that. Does that have anything to do with Jennifer and Joseph abusing these girls? No. And so I feel like, do I agree with it? Absolutely not. But I'm not sure why it's being brought up. And I feel like it's being brought up as a tactic to create, a hate or whatever from the jury, possibly, towards Miss Banks, and possibly, basically through to these girls to be like, well, they're going to say that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just kind of the vibe I get from it. So, because I'm not sure why she keeps trying to do that. I'm not sure why. I mean, I get why she's trying to place like some of the abuse happening at the hands of Miss Banks or under her care or whatever. So she just has really kind of latched onto Miss Banks and trying to paint this really negative picture of it. And people just don't seem to be going for it. You know what I mean? Like the people who have spoken for the state and stuff, they just seem to be a little bit above that tactic, in my opinion. Now, another person that gets up here, and this is another example of context. So another DFS worker gets up there, and the defense tries to establish that Millie was with the Lamberts and visiting biological family when something with the eye happened, and it prompted an investigation. And so essentially, Miss Lambert said that Mr. Lambert could lose his job over those allegations, and that they wanted Millie gone by the next day. So then the state so that's basically all that's shown to us. Okay, thank you. Then the state gets up there and adds the context to the statement. And it says, was this placement ever permanent? No, it wasn't. Wasn't there a lot of media surrounding the child at this time, and the Lamberts didn't want all that media attention? Like, this was a known thing? Yeah. And the media attention was the main reason why they didn't want the child there permanently? Yes. So, and then did the investigation into the eye turn up abuse allegations against him? No. Because this worker had to go take Millie to the emergency room and kind of go through the motions. And you're just sitting here like, okay, it exposes the tactics of the defense of, no, quit trying to twist things around. It just makes them look bad, is all it does. They would have been better off never having this person come up here and said any of that. Then another caseworker gets up there with very minimal contact with these girls. Now remember, a lot of these people testifying have had very minimal contact with these girls. So this person gets up there and it's something about drinking and Miss Tate was an alcoholic, and then it's like, well, no, actually she's trying to make it out like, she was drunk and all this stuff, and it's like, no, this was a statement about her being a recovering alcoholic. So then a teacher friend of Jennifer's gets up there. She's essentially like, the relationship between Jennifer and the girl seemed normal, didn't see bruises, all the same type stuff. The state gets up there and establishes that these two are no longer friends. And I'm like, really? It's the second person of the day that's like, I'm done, And so, as she's like, testifies that Jennifer told her, you're going to hear a lot of lies about me in the media. I mean, again, it's like, why did you get this person on there? Didn't you even think? I mean, it turns into one of these things where I'm like, does the defense want their clients guilty? I mean, is that what we're after? So, and she basically establishes, that there's kind of like, but one thing that abusers operate in, and it's very clear in this, is half-truths and little bits of information here and there. So this person might hear that she fell at at Miss Banks' house to hurt her leg, and this person might hear that, it was at gymnastics, and this person hears that it was a bit of both. This person hears I went to this hospital. This person, it's these half-truths and little bits of information here and there. And so, and this person, basically, that was all brought out. We hear from a Walmart pharmacist who has met Layla, didn't even know her name, and essentially vaguely remembers Jennifer coming in, lifting the shirt up, and saying this is a rash or whatever, and can you give her something until I can get to the doctor? And of course the state gets up there and just kind of tears that apart. I mean, the Walmart person's already like, no, we're not doctors. People think we are. We can't diagnose stuff. All I can do is basically say put cream on it until you go to a doctor. I don't even know what the kid's name is. So on and so forth. And so there's some more witnesses like this come up, but this has turned into a long video, so I want to draw it out for y'all. But I mean, it's more of that. I'm recording this. It is Wednesday morning right now, so I still have to watch, today's testimony that comes upcoming. I am hoping and praying that I can see something of a little more substance, because this was painful to watch, not only in the way of, really, this is what you're trying to blindside us with, but it was so cringy. Like, you're embarrassed. You're literally embarrassed, especially after the build up, because I was like, surely she has something major up her sleeve. And I'm just like, if this is a prelude to Jennifer getting up there, I mean, hopefully, she has. I want to see Jennifer testify or Joseph, but if the defense has any amount of common sense, she is going to completely tell Jennifer and them, you cannot testify. It will seal the deal for you, because it's already been sealed as far as I'm concerned. The scientific and doctoral evidence that we have seen in this case case closed. So if we go in the assumption that the first state's witnesses are the weak kind of witnesses that, the defense has put a story together, maybe we'll have some kind of science to come along. But when you're basically character witnesses are no longer having something to do with you, are getting caught up on the stand, getting yelled at by the judge. I mean, look at the people attached to them so far. The only person that I was like, okay, and I just felt bad for her, was the mother, because how heartbreaking is that? How heartbreaking is that to get up there and have to hear this kind of stuff and see these pictures, as the mother of your son who it's looking like not good. So my heart goes out to her. I felt really bad for her. But other than that, I was just like, this is bad. I mean, they had professors come up. I mean, it just was bad, y'all. It was bad. So anyways, this is going to be a 20-minute video, it's looking like, so I'm going to round it out. I hope y'all have a wonderful day. I hope everybody is staying cool in this heat wave we're having. It finally cooled down here a little bit. Don't forget to hit the bell if you want to know when I'm in YouTube land to hang out. And there's lots of links down there in the description if you want to follow me on social media or any other platform. We have a podcast out now, so that's down there too. And that's it. I hope you all do well, and I shall see you soon.